Welcome everyone into episode 19 of the Hooley Brothers podcast. Recap of a wild first weekend of the tournament. We had 4 days, Friday to Monday. We'll get into that new format in a little bit here. But Mike, how you holding up over there?
I think we recorded halfway through the first four. It's 66 teams, and 50 teams have been eliminated, and 48 games. It's just been so much basketball. I can't complain.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I'm exhausted. I was telling you just before this, I'm exhausted. Between the first four going late into, I think it was ended at like 12:45 on
Yeah,
Thursday night. Yeah, I took a half day of work so I could watch the late or the whole slate of games on Friday. But then my hair was getting a little too long for me, so I scheduled a haircut. They could only do 8 a.m. Saturday, so it was like 2 straight nights of like 5.5 hours of sleep. And I'm someone that needs my sleep. So and then I never fully caught up because even the nights that then I had to do something on Sunday, then work again on Monday. So I never fully caught up. But it's what it was worth every penny. It was worth every hour of sleep I didn't get. As Rothstein said, word on my shirt on Saturday, we sleep in May. It's so true. And all I have is my second note here is God, I missed the tournament last year. I'm retroactively mad again that we had to wait almost 2 whole years for this thing again.
yeah, because I believe like the state of college basketball is pretty much the same as
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of like seniors and sophomores, like a couple upstart freshmen like Cunningham and Mobley, but it seems like it was a lot of the same teams like with Gonzaga and Baylor and um, it just seems like we missed out on a pretty crazy tournament last year, and we're just getting it again right now. And it's like, damn, we could have had 2 years of
Yeah,
this.
I know. Especially my the team I felt the hardest for is Dayton. I mean, they had a loaded squad led by Obi Toppin last year. I think they were going to make a push um, going into it, and then obviously they don't even make the tournament this year because again Obi left. But so yeah, I mean, obviously stinks for them. But yeah, just a wild first few days. I was so happy. Again, I put it on my Instagram story, put everything, my setup. I got the monitors going. I had both TV, took the TV out of the bedroom, all that good stuff. So made sure that I had that setup. I was able to watch 4 games at once, and I felt in I was in nirvana. It was just my perfect state of watching 4 games at once. I was in heaven. So yeah, let's get right into it. Again, 16 games on Friday and Saturday, followed by 8 apiece on Saturday and Monday. Every seed won a game besides 16. So yeah, we're start with some general notes here, but then we'll get into region by region. Um, and now every seed is lost because Illinois got bounced, which again we'll get to when we get to their region there. But early thoughts. Again, I have to say, a few months back when this new format got announced, the Friday to Monday, the first weekend, and then the Saturday to Tuesday. I'm someone who doesn't like change a lot of the time. I was not a fan of it, but I gotta admit, Mike, a minute now, and I don't hate it. I mean, I took a half day at work. That's all I did, a half day, and there were a total of 2 games on the entire weekend while I was working. That's something you're not used to with only taking a half day of work.
Yeah, no, that is true. Because yeah, if you're taking a half day, then you're it's not like the usual.
I
If you do
missed two,
that,
two and not even.
yeah,
I mean, I was watching it a little, but
yeah, but it's not like the usual. Okay, you'll
on
do
the
that
same.
on Friday, and you miss like 8 games on Thursday, and it's kind of just like craziness already. I don't know. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
the Monday. You just feel like you already watched so much basketball from Friday to Saturday. You just like woke up on Monday. It's like, oh right, there's more. And I feel like I'm always just so used to like
Mm-hmm.
Sunday being like, look, Monday morning at like
The
as I
end,
log
yeah.
in, just being like, okay, this is where I sit. This is what I need. I need X, Y, and Z. And there's just so much more that could happen. So I
Yeah, I
I was okay with it. It
agreed.
just the thing I didn't like the most is that the timing. I feel like they didn't really do a good job of adjusting their schedule. I feel like they kept the same schedule, whether if it was a Thursday, whether it was a Thursday, so like basically what I didn't get. I hated Sunday's schedule. How it was a Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon, and it's like you're gonna know that people are gonna get tired by the end of the night. Like yes, you need to keep some West Coast people in, but why was there like 3 games going on at 7 p.m. on
They
a
wasted a
Sunday
lot of
when there was
time.
just nothing
Yeah,
but
they wasted.
blank airspace from like I think it was like around like 2:15 to 2:45, and then from like 4:40 to like 5:15,
Yeah, because I mean,
and then
I was up doing a few things. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
yeah, so it was basically then it was like 5, 6, 7, 7:30, 7:45, like 8:40. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like you could have like at least had two at a time. Like when you're in the second round, and you don't really need 3 games on at the same time. I get it when it's on a work night like Monday. I kind of liked it because, like you said, there's only 2 games during the work day. makes sense to keep it for like that.
Right,
And
right.
even if we do switch back, I kind of like it on a Saturday. So like if you go out, you're only missing 1 or 2 games if you want to like be a productive person during the day. So like when Saturday night rolls around, it can all be madness again.
Right, right.
So that was my 2 cents for the scheduling.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'll say there, Mike, to kind of put a little devil's advocate here, that would happen regardless, whether it was a Tuesday or Thursday to Sunday or a Friday to Monday, because Sunday's the day they messed up. Sunday's going to have that 8 game slate no matter what. So that's something that I agree. There was a lot of empty space. I mean, I was doing stuff in the morning, or even the early afternoon, so I missed some of the Illinois game. But then I got home. Then there's like you said, a certain gap. Then I went out for a little walk during the Baylor game, and then that was kind of like, again, it was getting kind of, you knew how it was going to handle late in the second half, and then there was just this other gap of 45 minutes of nothing happening. I think you could have shifted some things up an hour there, and there, I don't think there's any reason to have a scheduled 9:45 tip off for some of these games. Like you said, Saturday night, I know we have one with Syracuse there, but again, Saturday a little bit different than a Sunday or Monday night. Again, not to sound too old, but it's just there's no reason when we have all this extra time here during the day. I think, like you said, Monday a little bit different, so you can you'll catch more viewers later at night. But on Sunday, yeah, what are we doing all day? Again, from 5:15, there was only 2 games that got completed before then. I think we could have fit a third one in there and still not had too much crossover between the time slots. But yeah, again, that's something that I didn't like, but yeah, again, I really didn't think I was going to like this going into it, but now realizing just having a Saturday of 16 games, not having to, like you said, either take time off of work or miss some of it or be distracted on a 16 game slate, but rather having to manage it on an 8 game slate on Monday where you really only miss 2 games versus, like you said, maybe 8 during the day. I am a fan of that. And I actually wouldn't hate, I mean, I wouldn't hate it if it went back, but I'm really kind of in favor of the new setup here.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like it was like after it's like okay, Monday, try to get back in the swing. It's like you want to like
Yeah,
start
I get
fresh,
it.
and then it kind of like
Yeah,
it gets pushed back another day, and you
right,
kind of
right, right.
like yeah. But so there
I
definitely
do
are
get it.
pros and cons.
It's mostly the Saturday having like, well, let's use our time most efficiently for one of the 16 game slates, and then also if you take some time off Friday, you can kind of take advantage of both. But I do get it. It was almost in the past, like if you could just get to like Thursday afternoon, maybe things slow down a little bit at work or whatever it might be, and then you can take Friday off, whatever it might be, and kind of end your weekend on Sunday. So I do see the advantages there, but I'm much more in favor of this format than I thought. We'll have to see how the Saturday to Tuesday goes because I am excited there because again, we used to jam pack 4 games on a Friday night, 4 on a Friday, Thursday and Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday come around. There's only 2 apiece. Now having a 4 game slate on both weekend days, I think that will definitely be beneficial.
Yeah, again, I think it's just a weird thing for me on them. I feel like I could stay up till like 1 or 2 on a Thursday night watching any game. The fact that like
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to be up like past like 11:30 watching
yeah.
basketball on a
I don't even
Monday
have a
or Tuesday.
problem. Right. No, I don't even have a problem staying up. It's more just like the number, like having two at a time, say around 7-ish, and then 2 at a time around 9-ish versus going 2:45, 5, yeah, 7:30 and 9 or whatever it might be, or 10 o'clock on a Saturday. I think it's more conducive for a 4 game slate.
Yeah, so I think it's like the only cons against it are the having just Monday and Tuesday, just so used to being like Sunday is like when everything ends. Like okay, Sweet 16
I
that, but
agree.
but just like but this year the Saturday itself is 10 times better on both weekends.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would never want to shift like the first weekend Saturday to Tuesday because Friday it is such a great day. Like if you take a half day, take a whole day off, getting Friday, Saturday, both like because that's the only thing too. Like yeah, they'll be with the Saturday to Tuesday format. You only have one non-work night that these games fall on, so that is a bit of a disadvantage there. So yeah, we'll have to see. It's interesting though. I thought I was gonna hate it and I didn't really. So we'll have to see if that sticks or if that's something that goes back a little bit more to normal next year. Because Thursday night was awesome too, and we'll get into that a little bit. I know we were recording that before, but Thursday was a nice little appetizer of a 4 game slate with 2 16 games. Then also the Drake Wichita game came down to the wire. We were on recording for that. Then the Michigan State UCLA game, which again featured 2 big names, which I think is what helps. But kind of that leading into Friday was great. So yeah, we haven't been on since before the first round started, so we kind of have 2 rounds to recap at once here. We'll go kind of region by region. Overall, the theme, and we'll kind of get to more of it later on, is the Pac-12 up, Big Ten down. And you can say the same thing about Big 12 as well, but there was a little bit more hype along with the top of the Big Ten, if that makes sense.
Bill Walton was right
But
all along. The Conference
Bill
of
two
Champions.
L's.
Conference
Yeah,
of
he was. So
Champions.
let's dive right into it here. So we'll start the West region. We'll go. Some people will be doing kind of a clockwise thing. I do it like if you were reading a book, like you're going down and then down.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
the
agree.
left side and then the right side. So
And I think that's the way it
so
shows
okay,
up
we'll
on an
start
app.
exactly. So yeah, we have the technology behind us too. So yeah, we might again we can't get into every single first round game. We're gonna cover the ones that kind of made a difference here. Gonzaga looks unstoppable. I'd say they rolled twice, obviously in their first round game, and then Oklahoma yesterday. Sweat out that plus 16, that's for sure. Got a favorable out there. Was able to manage a push. I thought it was something. It was insane because Oklahoma came out of the gate strong. I think they were even up by like 6 points, maybe even up to 8 points, and it was not close. Like pretty much by the half, and so even when you're able to punch them in the mouth, it really did matter. And Gonzaga really just they're looking really, really good.
Yeah, so Oklahoma was able to beat Missouri even without their second leading scorer. I believe it's Davion
Right.
Harmon's name, and
Yes,
I
yes,
just put
yes.
I just put a lot of pressure on Reeves, and he did
Mm-hmm.
had a great game against Missouri. And like you
He
said,
answered the bell. Yeah.
he had a hot start against Gonzaga, but even like kind of like working and watching that, like peeking up and down. I'm like, it seemed like Gonzaga was not like getting hit in the face down by 8 points early. They're like, okay, they're just hot shooting from the floor. We're eventually just going to take over this game, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got up by 20 points at one point in the second half, and like
They did. Yeah.
I think the only reason why I ended up with that push is that like they didn't really score for like 4 minutes. Like
Mm-hmm.
Timmy and his handlebar mustache was the only reason that they put like only person putting up points for a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, they even looking bad in like the first like 5 minutes of the game and like the 10 to 5 minute range in the second half, they still look dominant.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, it was like one of those things where yeah, Timmy had a great game. First of all, it was just yeah, he was just dominating in the post. He was anytime he got the ball and got like it's because it's funny because you watch a lot of NBA and then you watch college. There's a lot more missed layups, especially by big men who like are supposed to dominate that area. Timmy is one guy I don't ever really see miss one of those because again, there's a lot of guys that you look at them. It seems like they have the strength. They should be able to finish at the rim, but yeah, Timmy was outstanding as far as that goes. And then something else I noticed too, Mike, and because I was kind of going through their roster and everything. Do you like out of their big four, and I'm including Ayayi on there with Kispert, Timmy, and Suggs? They're all different classes. So you
Yeah,
have Suggs as a freshman, Timmy's a sophomore, Ayayi's a junior, and Kispert's a senior. So I mean, it just shows you the diversity in ages on this team, and those are usually teams that do well and compete for a national title, and they seem like they're well on their way there to kind of have that, the young talent as well as the guys that have been there for a few years. So, but yeah, so Gonzaga able to, like I said, it just seems like they were running the floor well, and yeah, they're looking quite unstoppable right now. They did get kind of a favorable lie. I mean, again, we'll talk about the Pac-12 in a little bit here, but they do have Creighton next, and a lot of people weren't big out of them coming out of the Big East, and they've kind of had again not the hardest road to the Sweet 16. They were able to hold off Santa Barbara. After a late miss there, where the Gauchos looked like they were going to maybe pull away with that one, but that was kind of a crazy first round game there. That I think a lot of people I know, including I think both of us had Santa Barbara there.
yeah, I was really big on them. I really thought they could pull off the upset, especially with Creighton kind of looking very inconsistent down the stretch. But it was kind of just Zagorowski's 3 point shooting in that game that kind
Mm-hmm.
of kept them in, and then that missed layup. I can't believe that it didn't go in. And I feel like they kind of, even though it was a good look, I feel like they kind of held onto a timeout pretty badly there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh
think
yeah, yeah, that's right.
because I think they brought the ball with like 25 seconds, and like the first like 15 seconds, the population like not population possession looked very discombobulated. So like I think once you like
Mm-hmm.
get down to that point, like when you have the timeout, like don't call it right away, but if it looks messy, like okay, drop a play. And it looked messy, and
Yeah,
so my heart
I
broke
agree. That
there.
seemed like they left some in their pocket there. Yeah.
My heart broke there, but I was right in my prediction. Even though I was wrong on my bracket, I knew one of them was going to lose between Creighton and Virginia. I picked Santa Barbara, but Virginia to win. So I had it the
Yeah.
opposite, but I bet both teams to cover their plus seven spreds, and they both did.
Okay.
So I'm okay with it.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I also got the upset there wrong in the bracket. Completely reversed, thinking that one would upset the high seed, and then the high seed remaining would then go to the Sweet 16. So instead of it being Virginia over Santa Barbara, it ended up being Creighton over Ohio yesterday after they were able to beat Santa Barbara in round one. Took uh, took care of the Bobcats pretty easily yesterday. I do want to give a quick shout out there though for Ohio, and I hate it because I'm blanking out his name. Jason, do you have his name, Mike?
James
I'm
Preston.
blanking it. James Preston, thank you.
Yeah.
Jason Preston, I think it is.
Yeah.
But what a story that guy is, and I want to briefly hit on him. Just like was going to enroll at Central Florida, just as a like journalism minor or major rather, and got asked to play in an AAU tournament. One thing led to another. He ends up going to prep school, and then finds his way into Ohio. He barely played in high school. He averaged like 2 points a game. He didn't really do too much there. So you don't typically see that from guys that are showing off in March Madness. So I want to give a shout out to him. Obviously, not the best player there. I think he grew 4 inches about when he was 18. I love Paul George a little bit, but yeah. So I mean, they were able to get that one win. So you also talk about a weird few years for Virginia, huh? I mean, literally becoming the first after I think a series of maybe not the best performances in March Madness. You become the first number one seed to lose to a 16 seed. You then win the national championship. Obviously, no tournament last year. Then you get bounced in the first round again this year. So kind of that national championship, a bit of an outlier for success for Virginia. But that just seemed to be the team that was able to put it all together.
Yeah, really Jekyll and Hyde, especially if you just look at the last 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, 3 completed seasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
just sandwiched between first round losses, which makes me and that Texas Tech future feel even worse about the whole situation because they usually choke in March Madness, but they were able to put together that year. Never forget DeAndre Hunter. But yeah, so now if we go towards the bottom half of that region, so it's going to be Gonzaga and Creighton, the Sweet 16. Unfortunate occurrence coming in the first round on Saturday. VCU, heart goes out to them. They weren't able to participate in their first game. It was a no contest, and Oregon advanced right to the round of 32. Kind of, we're hoping this didn't happen, but not at the expense of VCU because this obviously means a lot to them. But hopefully that's it. And again, if there's one cancellation throughout this whole thing, that on the grand scheme of things isn't the worst thing in the world. I think could have been a lot worse, but you certainly got to feel for VCU.
Yeah, I guess you feel for them, but in the grand scheme of things, I thought that Oregon was a much better team than them, and I thought they were going to kill them. So like I think the bracket
Yeah.
ended up looking the same. So hopefully,
No,
if
I
there had to be
agree.
one cancellation that wasn't like in between like two like close seeds, like whether it's a 7-10 that ended up getting canceled, or like I'd rather be that than like a 1 versus 2 in the Elite Eight down the line. So
No, absolutely. I just mean specifically for the players and coaches for VCU, because I mean, even if you're going to lose that game, you want to go out there one more time, especially
get
the
this
seniors
get the
there.
step on the court. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's really more because I agree. It seemed like after the performance we saw yesterday from Oregon, and we can get into that, it doesn't seem like they were going to really be able to run with the Ducks here, who's put up a great run of Sweet 16s here for Dana Altman, who the man who aligns Rubik's cubes, and he put up 90. His team put up 95 points against Iowa yesterday. Um, Luka Garza had a fantastic finale as an Iowa player that put up 39 in his final game in a very emotional scene for him, but the Ducks were just running up and down the floor. It turned into an absolute track meet, and Iowa just couldn't keep up.
Yeah. See, this is why like I look at my bracket now. I'm like, what was I doing? Like I was like
Yeah.
all year I said I was like good, but just watching them like they're a good team, but a little bit fraudulent because
Yeah.
they rely a lot on Garza and 3-point shooting, and their defense is terrible. And like
Yeah.
Nunji off the bench for them, or he might have been their power forward, has been hurt. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they're just gonna get upset and by a 7 or a 10 seed. I literally was saying it all year, like even back in like December. And then I filled out the bracket
Yeah.
and I put them in my Elite Eight. So I'm like, what the heck am I doing? But
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my mind's in the dumpster again. We'll get to Illinois in a bit, but that's I would say one thing I did right was not putting in the Elite Eight, but I put Kansas in the Elite Eight, so that clearly was no better. Shout out to Caleb, my girlfriend. She had the USC Oregon matchup in the Sweet 16 here. She predicted that right. So
yeah, that's what even like my roommate Shane had it. And I heard Rossine do it, and I was like, wow, I liked that, and I liked one other thing, which I'll get to later. I switched the other thing. I have massive regrets on that, and then I didn't switch this, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Because
yeah,
even
so
because I think I was so sunk in on one of the 11 seeds from the play-in game winning, so I just picked them both. And then even though
mhm.
I saw how bad Drake looked in their W, I was just stubborn and didn't switch. And then
Yeah,
once I
yeah. Luckily,
saw
I
once I saw them
yeah.
play, and I'm like, USC is going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I mean, again, I was holding out hope for Kansas there. We can kind of hop into there as well. So we'll start with Kansas, their first game. You mentioned USC handled Drake. I don't think we need to get really
Yeah.
much into that. I think the Mobleys looked great. That was one of those games that kind of got not lost in the shuffle, but I was bouncing around on my different screens. I should have seen me this weekend, Mike. I was just like promoting games up into the big TV, then like the slightly bigger TV, and then the two monitors. Just kind of
Yeah.
the later in the game it got. So yeah.
Yeah, especially here because we had the two big TVs, but one was on the app, one was through cable, and then we had the smaller TVs. So it was like, okay,
Yeah.
like a lot of like the 215 games, well, less the other, not specifically that one, but like the Houston Cleveland
Yeah.
State game was always like on a TV3. And then I threw like Virginia Iowa because it was like early in the game in there, but I was like really big on having like the two on the big ones, but also having the most up to date one on the cable because they have the bar at the top.
Right,
So
right. That's
like
a good point.
it
Yeah.
would be like, up well, see, they're gonna hit a
You have
three
to not focus your
here.
eyes up
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So it was
Yeah,
more
I
like
agree
that
because I
control.
had the two TVs. I had a few monitors as well that I was using Chromecast or HDMI too, but those don't have sound, so I always had to make sure the one that I wanted to have the sound on was on one of the top two. Uh, yeah, I felt like a musician at work. I was just kind of moving. Everything around here was a lot of fun. Handling all of that. But yeah, so yeah, they took care of Drake pretty easily. Kansas though, they had themselves a bit of a battle in that first round game, and I love the Groves brothers, just looking like straight out of the 70s or something. And they put up two fantastic performances for Eastern Washington on Saturday afternoon, and Kansas was able to hold them off, but a great performance and one that I think will be remembered most by like again remembered a lot for a team that didn't pull off the upset.
Yeah, even though I think they ended up pulling off it in the first round, it kind of reminded me of the Stephen F. Austin team with Thomas Walkup.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I think they did end up winning it. I think they beat West Virginia and then lost to Notre Dame. I think that sounds right to me. But like,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people talk about that team like they made the Sweet 16, like the Florida Gulf Coast.
Right.
So
Yeah. We looked it up though. I think a lot of people assumed that one of them was a senior, but I think they were in junior and sophomore, so they could be back next year.
well, I think I saw their coach by great name Shanty Leggins or whatever. Or like that guy,
Oh, that's right. That's right. He might be moving on to forgive me,
Portland.
Portland. I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Portland.
Which I'm like, is that a better job? I don't know
I
much
was reading that
about.
too. I guess maybe it's like you get the. I think they're in the same conference as Gonzaga, so
Oh, okay. I
like
guess.
maybe like okay, you can build it up and like hopefully like take down
Right.
Gonzaga, or if they leave, you become the next Gonzaga. Like you
Yeah.
kind of see how the food
Well,
chain works.
I
But
hope they're back. I hope the Gross brothers lead them back next year. Because
that'll be
that
the
was great seeing them
team to
do well.
watch. Whatever conference they're in, and stream that conference tournament to see if they get a chance back in the
I know
madness.
you know they're gonna lose in like the semifinals just to like
They're gonna like the one seed that loses. Yeah.
rob us of that. I know it's gonna be so tragic. But anyway, that led us to um, the final game here that we're talking about, Kansas and USC. And since I was kind of explaining my process, kind of shifting them up when I was under the two TVs last night, I had the Alabama Maryland game was the second to last game, and even that turned into a blowout. But I had that on after the Michigan game, which was good. And again, we'll get to all these in a sec here, but I never even fully got into the USC Kansas game because it was on TV too. So I didn't have sound on it. And then by the time the Alabama game started to end, it seemed like it was already. I'm like, maybe Kansas could make a run. It's March Madness, you never know. But I was kind of half watching, and they just never seemed like they were in the game. They just seemed like they were grasping at straws. They were kind of going to chuck it up mode, and they were just never able to even get close to USC.
Yeah, I watched the beginning of that game pretty closely because I think it was the Alabama game is getting out of hand. This we'll get to later,
Right.
but the first like 2 or 3 minutes was kind of like a rock fight where like it was miss shot after miss shot up and down the court. Like it was like a track meet of a
Yeah.
rock fight. It was like I think
Yeah.
there was like 7 to 6 shots in the first like 3 minutes and like one went in.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
USC just slowly like started to like get their field goal percentage back up to a decent rate and then caught fire in the second half and it was just never close.
Yeah. And that's something too I want to talk about since we're going left right on the bracket, but then the games went right left. We're starting with kind of yesterday's games and Saturday's games, but yesterday compared to Sunday was just it was blowout city yesterday. I mean, we're talking about every game we talked about here was not really even close. All double digit wins here as far as the West region goes. So a lot less excitement once Monday rolled around. We'll
Yeah,
get there. Was one pretty close one, which we'll get into, but like I think 7 out of the 8 really weren't close.
yeah, because I guess like even just looking back, like how there was like 4 really good games in the first 4. So you can kind of say
Yeah.
like that was like a nice like a bad Thursday slate was like of 16 games was what Thursday was. And it's every
Yeah.
Monday morning. You're like, oh, can I get a couple like wean off noon games? Like maybe like one night game. I think we just had the wean off games, but like it was the round of 32.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so that does it for the West. We have again the bracket set there now, so it's going to be Gonzaga versus Creighton, and then a Pac-12 matchup of USC Oregon. So either way, we're gonna have a Pac-12 team in the Elite Eight up there, most likely to take on Gonzaga. We'll get to picks on the show. Our little preview our live show on Saturday. We'll get to that closer to the end of the show, but so let's move on to the East region here, and the story of the East region uh, probably would have been the biggest storyline had another team not won. The 14 seed Abilene Christian was able to knock off Texas in a game that it was funny because it was just absolutely ugly. If you think about it, like the score, it was a very low scoring game. It was it 50, 50 I forget what it is,
53,
53,
52.
51, 52. Oh, right. Because they were, yeah, that's right. They were down by one for the free throws. So, he had a real close game. I love their coach for Abilene Christian, but two huge free throws by Joe Pleasant, who sounds like someone that Biden would be talking about as far as like one of your just like blue collar workers in your city. Joe Pleasant, the repairman or whatever it might be. But what can I say? He stepped to the line. I was nervous. I was hoping because again, even I had Texas and I know you had the very far, you were in the Final Four. I didn't the Elite Eight, but just at a certain point, I feel like you're just watching a game and you're like, well, I kind of want this like part of me wants the chaos, you know what I mean? And again, you probably don't agree with me here, but two just again, we went to the line with two, and I was hoping like for his sake rather that it was the double bonus, not the bonus it was, and I was like, oh, he'll probably make one and miss one. So he made the first one. I'm like, all right, he's not gonna make the second one, is he? And then he does. I mean, just absolute clutch free throws there, and Christian, what can you say? Huge storyline knocking down Texas.
Yeah, I again, this was the this was the switch I did because I heard other people talk about. It was,
Yeah.
as I said, I switched from Alabama because I was scared of their possible second round opponent. So I was like, okay, I scared they might
Yes.
lose that game. So I'm
Yeah.
like let's go to Texas. And then they're up by 5 at halftime. So I was like, I went to halftime, like, okay, let me watch the end of this UCLA BYU game, make sure that happens. And then like I look back, like I'm just checking the score at the top. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? So then I watched like the last like 10 minutes of that very vividly, and it just
Mm-hmm.
Texas just could not score.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I thought like Sims was playing out better. He felt like he just couldn't get a shot up in the paint, and then luckily like Andrew Jones hit that three, and I was like finally up by one, and I'm like, well, I was just very pessimistic with how the game was going. I'm like, well, I'm just bound to lose this game. And I knew how it
Yeah.
was going to happen too. I'm like, they're not even going to give up a shot. Like they're going to have a stupid foul, and I kind of wasn't a
Yeah.
big fan of the call there, but like because like late in the game, kind of want teams to like let the on court
Yeah.
action. But I guess like if you actually slow it down, look at the replay, it was a foul. So
Mm-hmm.
probably was the right
Right.
call. But I'm kind of always like in these games, especially because they have been letting them play a lot.
Yeah.
So it was disappointment for me because I wanted Texas, but it's a great story from them. And just I think it's more about
Yeah.
another choke from Texas. I feel like they
Yeah. That's a note I had here too, Mike. Yeah. Because it seems like this keeps happening kind of in both sports if you think about it. Texas is not back. Yeah, a lot of people have them going the far in the tourney, like you said. We listen to kind of a lot of the same stuff, and Texas seemed to be the hot pick because I think what happens with a lot of people, they're filling out your bracket, and I think especially this year, I mean, it turned out to be not the case at all, but it seemed very top of the country heavy, like again, like the top four, and no one wants to pick four ones in their final four. No one wants to do that. So people are like, all right, like where do I go? Where do I not pick the one? And I think Michigan, using Isaiah Livers, and we'll get to them in a little bit here, but him being out, people were like, all right, I still like Gonzaga, I still like Baylor, I still like Illinois, so I'm going to pick it from this region. And like you said, then it came down to either Alabama or Texas. Some people were scared of UConn, like you were mentioning before. So Texas seemed like they had maybe a little bit of an easy road, and they just coming off the Big 12 where Oklahoma State looked like they were playing good basketball, and then they were able to knock them off. Obviously, they avoided Kansas due to the kind of COVID protocol there in the Big 12 tournament. But yeah, another disappointing end for Texas. And it's funny too, because I want to say that this is kind of associated with Shaka Smart, but going way back when they had Barnes, even that Durant team, who like I think they only won one game, maybe two, back in 2007. So kind of just been,
one game.
historic. It was one game, right? It was the round of 32. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
So
I remember watching it. I remember on a Sunday, him Durant losing. I just remember that being a Sunday.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, not
another choker in Rick Barnes too.
well, yeah. We'll get to them a little bit later on, but yeah. So Abilene Christian able to knock them off as far as that first round game goes, and yeah, I know it's tough watching those games when you have such a someone in your bracket going far. I think Final Four is when you start to maybe
Yeah,
like elite. I have them in the elite eight. I'm like, well, theoretically, I could still get on my Final Four teams, and sure, why not? Let's root for chaos here. But yeah,
yeah.
once you get to dip into the Final Four, I think it's where that line
I'll
is.
I'll definitely explain about that when we get to another Elite Eight team that I was kind of rooting against.
Right,
I'll get to
exactly.
that when we get to that game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll get to I wanted to give kind of UCLA its own shine later, but obviously Abilene Christian, their game only lasted one run. They only scored 100 points total in two games, right on the dot, 53 and then 47. But yeah, so again, Texas, another disappointing season. Michigan, I want to put some respect on Michigan. I know they haven't done anything crazy yet, but I think a lot of people counted them out. They obviously won their first round game against Texas Southern as to be expected, but a lot of people, including my co-host here, picked against Michigan last night anyway, as far as the betting lines go. I know they had a little bit of a buffer there, but strong performance. It was tough. It was again by far the best game of the day, even though it was an 8-point game. But great performances for LSU, but Michigan able to hold it down without Livers. Mike Smith looked overmatched a little bit at times, but Dickinson was able to hold them through. And then Shawnee Brown off the bench was fantastic for them. So a huge win for the Wolverines.
Yeah, he was the guy that kind of in that Ohio State game we were watching. I think he only really
Mhm.
like 10 points or something, but there was one point where I think he grabbed like 3 offensive rebounds in a possession and really swung the
Yeah,
tide of that specific matchup. But yes, I did because, like I said, it seemed like the closest game. I thought it was going to come down to the wire because I thought that
yeah,
Michigan is like very average at defense, and LSU can put up
hmm
points. So I thought that it would just be one of these like track like 80 like first to 80 wins, and yeah, that was true, but it kind of just was a lot of slowing down. You can definitely see the wear and tear on Smart and Cam Thomas by the end of that
yes,
between
yes.
the
They both
long
had good
SEC
games.
run and like really having to carry all the offense, especially if they don't really. I have a coworker that's a huge LSU fan. He's like they have no bench scoring, so if Watford isn't on for them, it's really hard for them to win, especially with how horrible they are in defense. Like they gave up so many open threes where it was just like a backdoor screen where two defenders would go to Dickinson down low and leave like Brown or I forget Brooks was it that
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
55. Yeah, he
Yeah,
hit a lot of
Eli Brooks. Yeah,
Eli Brooks and Johnny Brown had way too many wide open threes and just defensive
yeah,
miscommunications. So it's one of those things where I was wrong with the bet, but I think I was right with my rationale, so I wasn't too mad at
yeah.
it.
It's man, they sound like the LSU Celtics. We'll get to it a little bit towards the end of the show. Having only a few guys that can carry them, but yeah, LSU they handled the Bonnies in round one, a good win for them. But Michigan proved to be too much in round two. Um, Michigan, the only Big Ten team standing after it all, and then we'll get to more of these in a little bit here. But Colorado, so I want to get to them. So kind of moving a little bit further down. So we have obviously the first Sweet 16 in there as far as Michigan able to get past LSU. Colorado, they're a team that caused me trouble all weekend because I wasn't really confident in it, but I just did it kind of for the story, the Georgetown game because I I was like, oh, I think FSU is going to beat them no matter what. So let me be fun. I'll play. I'll have Georgetown beat them. And boy, did they light them up. It wasn't even close. And I don't even think Georgetown played. I mean, they didn't play great by any means. They played pretty poorly, but it's not like they played this god awful game. Colorado was lighting them up from 3 point, especially Jabari Walker was just going off the bench and just hitting three after three after three. So I'm watching that and I'm like, this is the best team I've ever seen, or something like that. You know what I mean? So I have that. And then they absolutely lay an egg against Florida State. I faded myself due to recency bias. I had FSU beating, granted it was Georgetown, but I had Florida State getting to the Sweet 16. And then I'm like, I was gonna pick FSU, but I just had like the Colorado, just like that performance was just replaying in my head. So when I placed a wager, I kind of faded myself, and it did not work out. And Florida State was able to come through with the victory there. And I have also that they like lengthened them to death. Their average height 6'8". Yeah, Leonard Hamilton's boys were in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. So on the flip side, I could not have read Colorado any better because I watched I think it was the same night a couple weeks ago. Like I had it on the background. I had the Georgetown game more in the background, and I kind of just know from living with the Big East guy that they just aren't that good. Like they got hot in the Big
Yeah,
East tournament, but I knew that they
yeah.
peaked. And then I did watch the Pac-12 championship game because that was like a late night game that Saturday
Mhm.
between Oregon State and Colorado. And even though Colorado did lose to Oregon State, I still kind of liked what I saw. Like it just seemed like Oregon State was just on fire from three, and just like, but I knew Colorado could put up points, so I took them. There was only a 5 point spread, so I took them for like the first game of the day on Saturday. And I'm like, okay, they're not this good though.
Yeah,
And I feel like Florida
right.
State, like they let Greensboro hang around. So I'm like, I think they can play a better game than that, especially
Mhm.
closing out on some of these threes with their length. So
Yeah.
stuck true to my bracket, and Leonard Hamilton get back in the Sweet 16. Hopefully,
He's
no,
been
well,
living there. He got to the Elite Eight once before, but still looking for that Final Four.
in the Elite Eight, you know who it was against?
That was Michigan.
Michigan. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good game if I remember. I think it came down to the last second with Michigan
Was that
eking it out.
2018?
2018. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch the end of that with
It's
scholars.
it's honestly so hard thinking of these years because of last year. It's like screwing me up. I'm like 2019 was the last tournament, but it's
Yeah.
anyway. And then yeah, so and then kind of moving further down the bracket. So we have so now for the next Sweet 16 matchup, UCLA continues their hot streak. We mentioned it kind of at the top of the show, but they were able to outgrind Michigan State in kind of the whether you consider the Blue Bloods or not, but just two premier programs in the first four, which we typically don't see. They were able to get the victory there, and then rolled it right into an upset of BYU in their first game on Saturday, and then also able to knock off Abilene Christian yesterday. So Mick Cronin's boys are also in the Sweet 16. The Pac-12 stays hot again. I know Colorado kind of had they're kind of the one team that didn't win, but yeah, you see like just they're rolling. They're getting hot at the right time here.
I love this team. Just watching them with my. I know
Yeah,
I gave him a little shout out even before the fact before he ended up dropping 30 in the first four game. Jaime Jaquez just is
Jaquez, yeah,
all over the place, and then Johnny Juzang with the scoring, and then the point guard who has been struggling, but I like him a lot. Tiger Campbell with the hair.
Oh yeah.
So
That's Tiger Campbell's a strong name.
yeah, especially with the Y too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm really all in for this team, and I really am excited for them to play Alabama. Alabama's looked fantastic in their two games. That they're another team that can put up points, whether they shoot half their balls from the 3 point line, but they don't settle for threes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And yeah,
I'm excited
we
for
can get
that.
right into
Hopefully UCLA can pull out for me because I already have the permutations in my head because my pick has been Baylor. So I did the math, and at least the pool that I run, it's like I need a couple things to go my way. So I think
yeah.
the biggest thing is going to be I'm going to need a Michigan UCLA Elite Eight.
Okay.
I like my chances a lot as long as it's Baylor over Gonzaga in the championship game.
I can honestly any combination out of that bottom left.
Yeah.
I could say the same about the bottom right, but again, once we get there, we'll get more into detail there. I do have to bring up the little bit of a meta note that happened yesterday in that game. We had Reggie Miller playing against UCLA in the building where Reggie Miller's number is retired. So that was kind of cool. So against his old college and in the building his number retired. But yeah, you were mentioning Alabama. I just have Roll Tide. That's the note. They've looked obviously great in their first game against Iona. Rick Pitino gave him a little bit of trouble there, but
he did. They did. Iona
yeah.
covered.
Yeah, so but they were able to. It's funny that if you line up Iona and the winner of the Maryland UConn game, you would have thought that would have been a little bit tighter, but they were they absolutely steamrolled through Maryland last night. But like you said, yeah, Iona had a good performance. I do wonder if Pitino will get kind of one last higher tier job before all things.
I think he said he's in heaven. He likes just he likes the individual life right now.
All right, I mean, have to whatever works, man. But yeah, so again, Alabama also again they were just on fire yesterday against Maryland. But one quick side note there because we do have to give the Terps credit. Our guy SVP must have been happy after Saturday night. That is, what happened to UConn? Everyone was so big on UConn. Final Four, beating Alabama, whatever it might be, but they couldn't get past the Terps.
Yeah, so that's why I had Alabama, but I got scared of UConn. And then I slid in my bracket, then I looked at the line and I saw it was only 3.5. And I was like, this
Yeah.
could be scary. I was talking to my friends, and they said that was a disrespectful line, quote unquote, is what I heard. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. I guess you're right. And then like I saw the game happen. I saw Maryland was up early, and I'm like, I freaking knew it. They're gonna run away with this game.
Yeah.
And Maryland's not even that good. I knew like I watched them all year. It's like I am between like I didn't think they were that good. That's why I kind of bet against Michigan State because they're so up and down. Like the fact that they lost to Maryland twice. I was like, I don't know. I just don't really like this Maryland team at all. And it proved I was right in the second round, but
Yeah.
eh, they got the one W. Maybe saved Turgeon his job, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might have put him on the
Especially.
hot seat out of nowhere. But
Yeah. No, but definitely. I mean, I would think that if there was any question mark, I think beating UConn and then, I mean, Alabama. I mean, Alabama is just again a
yeah,
top 8 team in the country. So, um, not much you can do there. So yeah, Sweet 16 matchups are set there as well. We're gonna have Michigan and FSU, and then UCLA versus Alabama. So it should be a good slate there. So all the games we mentioned before, those will be happening on Sunday. So now we'll get more into again the right side of the bracket, the games that happened on Friday and this past Sunday, and ones that will be taking place next Saturday. So we'll start with Florida Virginia Tech because they started the tournament. I think we're all waiting for that initial jump ball to start March Madness, the one we've been waiting for over 700 days. So that was exciting, and it didn't disappoint. That was a very close first game and went into overtime. Can't ask for much more than the opening game there, but it was the Gators who ended up pulling away the victory. Traditionally, unlike any other Sean starting 0-1 in this bracket, so that was great.
yeah, that was a nice little comeback for them. They really made it close, especially with that. I forget his name. Up by 3, they get the stop, gets fouled, and okay, it's over. Misses both the free throws, and then they go to
Yeah,
overtime. But luckily, that I, I don't really know the name. There's so many games starting up when that game was in overtime because I was like right when all four the lanky white dude with the undershirt. No, I think
oh,
12.
I know. I did say no more. I know exactly who you're talking about.
He
Yeah,
had a great overtime for them in that victory.
yeah. So I mean, again, that was a great game to start the tournament. We'll get to their second game a little bit later on here in the South region, but starting at the top of the bracket with the top team, Baylor cruises. So they obviously won their first game again against the 16th seed there. No problem at all. But the mullet in full effect is also what I had.
Matthew Mayer.
Meyer, yeah,
Meyer.
yeah, exactly. So he was great, and I'm gonna talk about these two things. So we'll talk about them in their first game. Quick sidebar here, though, to kind of set up the next matchup. Wisconsin UNC. That's a game that I was very. I don't know. It was definitely a good game on paper, but it was one that I thought was UNC was going to win. And I actually, there was a part of me that debated having them beat Baylor because I was that big on this UNC team. Looks like they hit their start at the right moment, but that was not the case. So I'm glad I did not do that. They ended up losing to Wisconsin, who again, our guy Big Cat said if they can get every shot to fall down, they're a pretty good team, but they never get every shot to fall down, and they got every shot to fall down on Friday night. So they handed Roy Williams his first ever first round loss. So the Badgers were again only won one game here, but they were able to defeat UNC.
Hey, a lot of big teams, Big Ten teams, can't say they won a game.
That's true. That's true. So
But yeah, that was one little like I think the 3 pivots I considered. This was the one I actually did. I switched to Wisconsin like at 10
you
p.m.
did
on
okay.
Thursday,
All right.
and I did. That was again. That was again their roommate influence. They were like, we watched UNC all year. Like, yeah, they're hot to end the year, but they're really just not that good. And
Yeah.
Wisconsin, they're like, we watched the beginning of the year. They were good. They just ended bad. I just think it's going to reverse
Mhm.
course. And like a lot of experts, like were like even like Rothstein, I believe Stanford Steve was like, I don't know, like Wisconsin's pretty good, and they're like a 1 point
Yeah.
dog. So Davidson,
I do have to.
I kind of really liked it because it gave me a little less scary of a matchup because I didn't see them having a good offensive game back to back games, and that was true.
Yeah. So that set up the Baylor Wisconsin matchup. Again, Baylor was able to handle them pretty easily. It was close for. I mean, Wisconsin kept trying to fight back, but they could never quite close that 8-10 point gap there. So. Again, the Bears are on to the Sweet 16, but like you said, good performance for Wisconsin. I do have to thank the I mean, it doesn't matter anyway because again, my bracket's in the trash, which we'll wrap up in our final region. But the I have to forgive or thank them rather for setting up the Villanova Purdue matchup, or what was supposed to be the Villanova Purdue matchup, because that's what did ultimately scare me away from UNC upsetting Baylor because I'm like, well, I don't see any one of these teams getting to the Elite Eight, so no, I'm sticking with Baylor. I'm going to not overthink it here. So, but yeah, let's dive into those. Villanova, a team that was kind of disrespected. I don't want to give them too much credit here because, again, they didn't have the best two quality wins here. I think seeing that, and why don't we get into North Texas? They were able to beat Purdue. I know we hear Death Taxes and Matt Painter, but was not able to even get out of the first round and lost to a North Texas team here.
Yeah, I thought North Texas would be pretty scary coming out of the region, even though I
Mhm.
did pick Purdue. It was because, again, I just got the 12-13s wrong. I knew one of these teams.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
And
Yeah.
I picked Winthrop because they're 23-1 and the injury to
Actually, no, I
Gillespie.
didn't. I didn't do that. But anyway, good.
And the injury to Gillespie. And though I should have been more scared of North Texas because they were able to beat heavily favored Western Kentucky in their conference title game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, shout out to them. I think that was really good showing in the first game, and they did not have a
Yeah.
good showing in the second game, but
Yeah. And so that's the two. Because actually, yeah, I have the Villanova Purdue matchup, but I didn't trust Novas. That's why I had Purdue in the Sweet 16. But yeah, it's just interesting because again, people were like, "Oh, Villanova, they've been disrespected." It's like, okay, well, they beat Winthrop, who I know some people doubted them, but they would beat Winthrop in North Texas. So I think if they lose, like I think we expect them to against Baylor, it's like if they beat Baylor, they're overachieved. If they lost to either one of these teams, it would have been underachieving. I think they're gonna end up right where they should have, given how the field
yeah,
played out.
because like I feel like if they end up beating Baylor and then like maybe losing to like in the bottom half of the bracket, there could be like, wow, if only Gillespie wasn't hurt, that could have been just like the last couple of
I
wins
know.
they needed. Like, and then that
Exactly.
might kill you. But now it's like, oh, we had like a nice little run. We beat our two
Yeah.
double-digit seeds. Like, as
Yeah.
long as we have a good game
Right.
against Baylor, you can be like, okay, like,
Or even if you like, I don't know, beat Purdue, like, or it's just like a
yeah,
different storyline. I think beating North Texas in the second round than Purdue because it's just again those are games that you should win. But they did take care of business, so that does set up the Baylor Nova matchup in the Sweet 16. Now going to the bottom half of the bracket. This is where a lot of the chaos happened as far as this region goes. The Bus Rise. What a game! That was probably again the best game. We'll get into our best games, kind of at the end here, but that one came all the way down to the wire. The game-saving block to clinch it against Texas Tech, and just a fantastic 6-3 matchup in this region.
yeah. So we saw Texas Tech take care of business pretty well, especially with the great second half
Right.
against Utah State. I believe there was a lot of good 3-point shooting from
Yeah, I
McClung.
jumped around here. Sorry, I skipped over the first round because Arkansas had their own battle in
That's
their
what I was going
first
to
game
hint
as
at.
well. I didn't mean to jump right into this round two here. That one was just so exciting.
As a big rider of the Most Bus, I was very much scared because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like Colgate like can put up points too, but like they only put
They
like
played
three
like
teams
four
up.
teams, right?
I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, like they're no match for them, not like Gus Bus points. But luckily they cooled off in the second half, and Bus came back and covered. And
mm-hmm.
then yeah, that was just a fantastic game. It was right when you thought one team was going to run away with it. There was a big comeback. So I kind of thought Texas Tech was going to run away with it pretty early because they seemed to be very much in control of the pace and how everything was going. And then Arkansas built up a nice like 8 to 10 point lead. Almost got Gucci'd with the Arkansas money line
Yeah.
by a roommate, but luckily they were still able to hold on. Could definitely argue there were some foul calls there, but they didn't call it at the end
Mm-hmm.
with that block. So again, that's why I kind of
Yeah.
like they let them play. That's why I kind of wish they
Yeah.
didn't call it in Texas. But
Get over it, man. No one roots for Goliath.
again, I guess the one silver lining is that I was able to get fully behind UCLA
Right,
because I
right,
would have been so
exactly.
conflicted watching that Texas UCLA game.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so Arkansas able to hold off Colgate, and then we said just a fantastic back and forth game with Texas Tech. And again, they were able to pull it off there. So they find themselves in the Sweet 16 as well, facing what was probably Ohio State, right? No. So this is where things started to fall apart for my bracket. I mean, I still had my champion, but I had Ohio State. Again, the strategy I was mentioning before, I really liked Gonzaga. I really liked Michigan. I really liked Illinois. I liked Baylor, but I'm like, I cannot do 4-1 seeds. I have to have some sort of difference here because it's only happened once, and it was in 2008. But I was like, I don't know, something about Baylor. They're still a great team, and they'll probably end up, make it to the national championship game here. But I don't know. I'm just like, well, Ohio State, they had an impressive Big Ten championship against Illinois. Maybe they're figuring it out. I know their defense is questionable and all that, but Oral Roberts, the 15 seed, stuns them in the first round, and it was really two guys. It was Tony Amos and Obenar who put up, I think, was it 59 points?
Yeah, and it's Max Asmus.
It's A Smith. I knew because there's a B in there, right?
It's you spell it ABMAS, and
Right. I'm like, I knew the B didn't get pronounced, so I said Amos. It's A Smith. Okay, right.
yeah. So we Sneaky had that game on the big TV the entire day
Yeah.
because the thing with the March Madness, like, because it always be like the two big V's. Like, I could Chromecast the CBS game into a small TV, but on the app, because like on like a Roku, you need to have like the Paramount Plus. You couldn't get a
Yeah,
CBS
I
game
know.
on
Yeah,
there.
I had that too.
So we
Yeah.
only could do like either cable or small TV. And like the way I ended up, there's only two games on at one time. So it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna start off
Mhm.
here. And I remember
You
like, oh,
stayed on.
I was just like, yeah, like that was leading, like Rogers is leading scorer. Like, yeah, like I forget what it's called. I think it's like it's like Amos, like Amos. I'm like, that's not like Amos. I think it's like it was like a
Ace Smith.
C, like a A Smith. And they're like, you're crazy. And then the second layer is like A Smith for three. But yeah, nation's leading scoring, and I think O'Banner needs enough credit too, because I feel like even in there,
Yeah.
I think they were the 4 seed in their tournament, and he was the one that put up the most points because even like that was that crazy.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
with North Dakota State, right?
yeah, yeah, and he was the one that like I was like, oh, they have the least didn't score. My mind went right to O'Banner because like he was the one that had such a great game, and then they showed the graphic
Mhm.
after. It was like, oh, it's this A Smith guy. Like I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
said he had a bad game. I wasn't really paying attention. He had 23 in that game. O'Banner had like 30. So this is why
Yeah.
I thought O'Banner was just a very quiet 23 from A Smith. But
Hmm.
what a game, especially going into overtime. Got to see a lot of it's bad to see how much slack the Buckeyes got on social media. I know Liddell spoke out.
Hmm.
That's some
Oh,
pretty
that was awful. That was awful.
that
People are
was
losers.
yeah, but it was a kind of rough showing from Washington at the end of
Yeah,
at
not
the
to
end of
mention too. I mean, not that you should do this
that.
regardless, but like Liddell's the one that I thought kept him in it late. He was
Yeah.
grabbing boards and he hit that three, which I didn't even know he could do. Like,
Hmm. So yeah,
so
it was Washington after a great Big Ten tournament run, even though they were the runner up. He had a pretty bad night shooting, and then again another. Well, we get effort every time. A tie game or down by one. Why are you doing step back jump shots?
yeah,
Think of
I
that.
don't know. I think they could have had a much better final look there before overtime.
And then in overtime,
But
he like kind of forced one look, went to the corner, they scored again, and then at the end, he had a wide open look to tie the game, the fourth double overtime, and
mhm.
he missed it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
a bad night for him. So my heart goes out to him because he probably is taking the credit for the loss, which he shouldn't. So
right, exactly. So but yeah, so going back into that game, and then I also had a note here. I've been listening to. I can't seem to focus on anything besides the tournament right now. Like other sports just aren't registering, but we will get to a little bit in a little bit. But our guy Mark Titus is as well. He was on a live stream, and if you haven't had a chance to, Chris Long actually just took a screen grab of it, and it's probably gonna be tough to see here, but he's just sitting all
dead.
sad watching the TV after that game. So it was a tough loss for some of the Ohio State alum and faithful there, but they were able to take them down, and then you see Florida, and there was like an extra like motivation for me rooting for Oral Roberts again in the second game. I'm like, Florida State doesn't deserve the credit of. I'm like, Florida, sorry, not Florida State. I'm like, they just don't seem that good. Like they're not a Sweet 16 team. Not that Oral Roberts necessarily is, but I'm like, this is way more fun. Please win the game. And it looked like for a while Florida was running away with it, but I think that's a game where O'Banner was really the better player in that game that really brought them back.
Yeah, so like that was kind of like my rationale because like again, I was like between Iowa and Ohio State, I was really thinking they were fraudulent. So like
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about, especially with how good Ohio State looked in the tournament. I'm like, I think again that was like kind of like their ceiling was that tournament around the Big Ten. So I was like, if they get a good lie, maybe I'll have to like a 7-10 upset because I feel like there's always one, and it's like a
There is,
7 or a
yeah,
10 over a two,
or seven. Yeah, exactly.
over a two in the second round. And then I saw the Florida Virginia Tech game. I'm like, I hate both these teams. Like they're
Yeah,
bad.
exactly,
So
exactly.
like I'm
UConn,
like
you might have picked them.
exactly. So I was like, I'll give them a cakewalk just for the must bust to steamroll them.
Yeah.
But so like when I got to that game, I'm like, I don't know, like it was like a 9 point spread, and I took it. I'm like, I really think they have a really good chance of winning this game, especially
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like I feel like the
Agreed.
15, like we saw with Florida Gulf Coast playing San Diego State to 7. Like I think if you get like a halfway decent, like only like a middling 7 seed, the 15 seeds probably will end up winning the majority of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you just played the hard. I mean, theoretically, the
Yeah.
hardest game you'd have to face till to the Elite Eight. But But yeah, so they're able to pull it off again. They're in the Sweet 16. So we have, again, the matchups are set there. Like I mentioned before, we have Baylor and Villanova. We have the Must Bus in Arkansas facing Oral Roberts. So again, the right side of the bracket, these are the games Mike and I are going to watch together on Saturday. Very excited for the slate that we have in front of us. But now we have to move on to, I think I wrote South region here twice. I'm in Midwest the second time on our sheet here, but this is where my dreams came and died on Sunday early afternoon. I had the Fighting Illini going all the way, winning the whole thing, and they were unable to get past. I mean, I should have seen it coming once I saw the schedule come out. Sister Jean on the Sunday. I mean, what else can you do? But I mean, again, I was actually out doing a few things, so I had my YouTube TV app on my phone, kind of trying to track it when I could, but it just seemed like no one was themselves in this game. Krutwig absolutely dominated them for Loyola. I couldn't believe he was still here from the 2018 team, but what can I say? I mean, Loyola just, it seemed like they went up early and they just held it the whole game.
Yeah, but it's Crutwig and Williamson the only two people left from that team.
Yeah.
And we did. I mean, this was 3 years ago. It was he might have looked the same in the face, but probably not like with like the strength. But you saw Mo Wagner in that Final Four game kind of really abused Krutwig a little bit. So
Mhm.
you were kind of nervous, like yeah, like he was their conference player of the year, but if goes up against a beast like Coburn, you gotta expect the same. And I think that's kind of like was like. Oh, I really wanted to pick them to beat Illinois, but I just like thought that Coburn was going to have his time, and it was the other way
Mhm.
around. It was
Yeah.
Crutwig was doing whatever he wanted.
Mhm.
And then it was just a kind of a rough day for everyone else. Like the Sumu was, I think he only had 9 points,
He wasn't good at all.
and he
No.
was a liability. It's probably the way to put it on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And then
Corbella was a little erratic as well.
yeah, so it just
Um,
was not Illinois' day. And then
no.
the Ramblers just took advantage of their held on to
Yeah.
the lead and just never let them get back within it to like make them nervous.
I hate it because I see this happening, Mike. I because I thought because Coburn's only a junior, if I'm
I
not
think so. Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah,
Oh no, but is I going to go to the draft?
maybe.
Okay, because if he does, then this blows. But if he somehow came back, this is just like, oh, everyone's going to be a year older. They're going to be all seasoned, and then. But if that happened, and I actually do think Dasun was coming out, so this kind of makes this point move. But it say they had basically the same team back. You have Corbella. Everyone's a year older. They play well again. It goes one of two ways. Either I pick them again, the same thing happens, or I don't, and they win the whole thing. So that's only one of two ways that happens if that team comes back. But this was the region of chaos, just beyond Illinois. Loyola is actually going to be wearing their home whites, if you can believe that, as an 8 seed in the Sweet 16 here. That's because again, when this matchup, I know I brought up the Wesley Snipes meme about having to pick against Oklahoma State in the Sweet 16, and then of course, I'm walking around between the games, between the Illinois game and then the late Oklahoma State game, and I'm like, God, I really wish that they weren't up against Illinois. I would have had, I really love Oklahoma State. I was going to have them go far, but I just didn't think they were going to beat Illinois. And that quickly blew up anyway, so it didn't really matter. I was clearly wrong with this team because in the battle of the orange and black OSU schools, Oregon State keeps their run going. Again, the Pac-12 proving to be the conference of champions, and the team picked to finish 12th in the Pac-12 that ended up going on that run and winning it. They find themselves in the Sweet 16 now as a 12 seed.
Yeah. So like I said, I watched that tournament game and like they were a little bit better than like what Georgetown and like, but like again, they can't be like that good. So I picked
Exactly.
Tennessee to win, even though I wasn't a big fan of them. But I'm like, I don't know, I think it'll be close. So I bet Oregon State +9. And I got 2 minutes watching that game. Like Tennessee is such a fraud team. I should have just picked Oregon State
Yeah.
just
So
because like I think I got two in my head picking all the 12s. And I got to switch at least two. And I'm like, I'll just get rid of the two hot conference tournament winners. But like I watched them, like I'm so mad I didn't pick that. And I was like, but Cade will probably have his business with them, especially as like the last game on
yeah,
Sunday, and then that wasn't his best game either. And
no, and I do want to
are they
hop into
better
that
without
because I
him?
did kind of. Oh man, that's a take. But no, I did want to get into that because I did kind of jump to the Sweet 16 matchup here. But yeah, like you said, a big win over Tennessee, who yeah, very poor showing for them as a 5 seed, going down to
Barnes.
Oregon State here. But they, yeah, but again, Barnes is something. He's like the anti Izzo, although he didn't quite make it far this year. But yeah, so let's get back into the Sweet 16 game there. Yeah, Oklahoma State. It's funny you bring that up, Mike, because one of the reasons I got big on this Oklahoma State team is that it was, I think it was the Saturday before conference tournaments um, where Anderson had a huge 30-point game in their win. I think it was, I'm trying to remember who was against, but it was because again, everyone's
West
a Big 12
Virginia.
kind of just beat up on
West
each other.
Virginia
Was the
without
West Virginia game? Thank you. Yes,
yeah,
yes, exactly. Without
without
Cade.
Caden Likely. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, that's when I was like, oh, so like Cunningham's out and they did this. So it's like, oh, they're gonna be even better with him in, and that's why I think it was very big on their team. But yeah, he didn't look great. Anderson looked like their best player, and even he wasn't fantastic. But yeah, I mean, they had chances to get back in, especially there was a while they hit those 2 back-to-back threes to cut it to 3, but then Oregon State kind of went right back on their attack, and that was really it. So
Yeah,
the
I
Beavers were
thought
able to get there.
that was like again when I was watching that game and the Illinois game, I'm like, if they can get this within one possession, like I think they'll end up
Yeah.
getting away with it. So like
Mm.
once Illinois did not, I was like, of course, but I think Oklahoma State will. I just don't really see like both these teams losing on the same day, but that's what March is.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that first stop, the Sweet 16 matchup is set. This is gonna be the first game, actually, if I'm not mistaken, on
Yeah, but the
Saturday,
245.
the 2:45 or 2:40 tip. So again, Oregon State versus Loyola as the 12-8 matchup there. So getting down to the final piece of the
240
bracket here.
tip
What's it?
at the Pacers Bankers Life Fieldhouse. 240 tip.
Bankers Life.
Yeah.
So now I'm setting up the final Sweet 16 matchup, and we'll have to get into a few things here, Mike. So we've heard of popular phrase, but I went January, February zone, because that seems to be the trend the last 5 or 10 years or so. And here's the interesting thing too. I feel like when Syracuse has a good year and ends up in maybe a top 5 seed, they underperform. But they end up as a double-digit seed, or even like an 8 or 9. That's when they go on these runs, and then they're finding themselves back in the Sweet 16 after an upset versus San Diego State, and then Bob Huggins and Press Virginia here.
Yeah, because I feel like I did have them one time as a 1 seed. I think like the CJ Fair like type of era.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
The
lost in the
Scoop
Sweet 16.
Jardine.
Yeah, I think they lost in the Sweet 16. It might have been I think it might have been like one of Butler's runs. I don't know, but like
Yeah.
the past couple of times as the 11 seed, they're so dangerous. And how do you not know how to like? Is it their 2-3 zone just so much better than every other 2-3 zone? Because San Diego State, like they look pathetic that second half of the first half. They were up
Yeah.
18-14, and then Buddy Boeheim got fouled on a 3, and then just since then, it was like, and then he was just like, okay, 1-point game, and then it was like, they just didn't score the rest of the half. It was unbelievable. It was the last 9 minutes and 40 seconds. San Diego State did not score, and like they only had like a couple losses this year. I was pretty high on them going in. I had them in the Sweet 16 just because I think I did underrate West Virginia, even though I was right about them losing in the second round. I think I was very. This was not like the usual West Virginia team. They had guys that could
Yeah.
put the ball in the bucket, which is why I thought they would be able to handle the 2-3 zone. But again, that was just another bad night for them because they couldn't figure it out. So Q's magic, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And West Virginia, I did have him in the Elite Eight. Just something about, yeah, no, because I have to remember to never pick against Syracuse, like unless they're facing a dominant team, but going forward, because that was part of the reason too. Is like again, I was like, well, I don't think San Diego State's going to beat West Virginia. Then Houston, just I don't know, something about them doesn't rub me the right way. So I think I just like by default put West Virginia in the Elite Eight here, but yeah, Buddy went off, especially on Sunday. Just money from he started slow too, and then he hit a bunch of 3-pointers in the second half there to really carry them over the top there. And then you have Dolajai in the middle as well. Just, I mean, they're looking real strong. I actually think they have a good chance to beat Houston and maybe even get to the Final Four here, because this bracket is kind of wide open. I mean, Houston's clearly the best team on paper right now, but other than that, you have an 8, an 11, and a 12.
I mean, no disrespect to Houston. Like again, I had in the Elite Eight, and I think Grimes is the best player. Grimes is very good, but my Rutgers boys should have beat them. They had their chances.
They should have, and that's kind of our final, our final round of. Yeah, our final round of 32 here. So Rutgers was able to get the win against Clemson in round 1. Houston obviously had the pretty easy win against Cleveland State, but it set up a game that Rutgers really blew down the stretch here. Houston was able to claw their way back into it. And then that the 3-pointer at the buzzer by Ron Harper Jr. That was on that final Bull, the Last Dance Bulls team came up short there, so Houston was able to have that huge comeback, like you said, against the Scarlet Knights there and get themselves into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, so after that game, I don't know. Maybe that means they'll just like that's their one survive an advanced game, and they'll blow the doors off Syracuse in the next game. But I'd say all four of these teams have a pretty equal shot here. Like I'm
None
not,
would surprise me.
I'm taking the seed out of consideration. I guess.
Yeah, I started filling out one of those second chance brackets.
Me too.
I think I went with Loyola just because I was like, I want to go Cuse, but I'm like, I'm feeling at least I think Loyola will win I'm pretty confident in them winning the first game. So, but I might switch that but to Cuse. But Oregon State's maybe, again, I don't want to keep disrespecting them, but they're kind of the one team that would surprise me a little bit coming out of the region, but the other three wouldn't.
I guess I guess I did disrespect them once they played Oklahoma State, but I don't know. I'm not Sister Gina has some sort of magic.
Yeah. So that's the one team yeah, the other three I could totally see coming out of this region. So again, Sweet 16 is set. That's something going to be the most fun to watch, I think. Again, the top left might have the most overall talent as far as the teams go, but
you could argue that. I think USC was probably just like a very quality 6 seed, but you could have said Oregon was probably the most underseeded team in the bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, a lot of I think you could potentially have some underseeding up there in the West region, and then you're still getting hot too. So I think a lot of talented matchups there. As far as again, Michigan FSU is the only chalk matchup, if you will, the only 1 versus 4 or 2-3, anything like that. So should be in for a great Sweet 16. Like we said, the right half of the bracket is going to be the one on Saturday. We'll have a little preview for you there. Very excited for that. I think it's very fitting too, Mike. It's going to line up with our 20th episode. It's going to be the one that we do our first live show. So Mike will be coming over on Saturday afternoon. Probably maybe about the start of that first game, maybe a little bit earlier, depending on when we can kind of organize there. But and then we'll just kind of watch the rest of the ones there. But we'll do a little Sweet 16 preview there.
I'll try to get there early enough so we're not distracted.
I'll be here.
Watching.
I know. I want to focus in.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll wrap up. Like I said, we also have a quick sidebar as we kind of, and we'll get to it a little bit, but I'm looking forward to my BC Eagles first round of the NCAA hockey championships on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Maybe we can have that on in the background.
Could be a second round matchup with BU. That could be fun.
A lot of rivalry because they got Notre Dame in round 1. So we'll see. I think overall kind of best games in the first round. I had the Florida Virginia Tech, Oral Roberts Ohio State, and then the UCB Santa Barbara versus Creighton game. And then as far as round 2 goes, like I said, it was mostly on
Oral Roberts Ohio State.
I had that. I'm sorry. I thought it. Yeah. That's fine. When the hosts aren't listening. No, just kidding. But best games of the second round on Sunday. It was mostly Sunday, like I said, the Cuse, West Virginia, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Rutgers, Houston, Florida, Oral Roberts. They were all kind of in that, the 5 to like 7:45 start there. So even then Michigan State or Michigan LSU was the only game yesterday.
Even go back up to the first run. I did really enjoy the Rutgers run. They had a very close game with Clemson, close game with Houston, and there's a lot of people I work with. They're down in Jersey, so apparently they're huge on Rutgers. So that was a pretty funny experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Michigan LSU yesterday was really the only good game as far as that's went.
It was a day of March Madness. I'll put it at.
It was a day. There were games. There were games that happened, and more games of basketball. I'm certainly not going to complain too much about that. And then this is where it gets real funny. Again, we have 4 Pac-12 teams. Again, only a maximum of 3. One of them is going to get knocked out with the USC Oregon matchup, but one of them is going to advance, so we'll have at least one.
1 to 3.
And then 1 to 3 exactly. Then we also have UCLA and Oregon State, and then all year Big 10, Big 12, and I agree. I was kind of echoing the same thing there, but only 1 team apiece. So only have Michigan and Baylor, the 2 1 seeds. So none of the other middle tier seeds were able to get through. But again, should be another awesome weekend and early week now of basketball coming up. And again, we'll do a much more detailed Sweet 16 slate. Again, our live show on Saturday afternoon. We do have the highest average seed ever in the Sweet 16, which is pretty fun. Because
Yeah,
the average is like 5.83 or something like that.
yeah, that bottom right region. I'm blanking on the location, but we have
The
8-12,
Midwest, I think it's Midwest
8-12 to
or South.
11.
I don't
I
know.
think no, Midwest, Baylor South.
Right, okay, yeah.
I think they just like kept like the names arbitrary to like what it would have been.
Right, exactly. So, yeah. So again, should have a great preview for. I do want to briefly hit on. I'm gonna just do a little bit of a verbal meme here. I don't know if we want to do the tired wired or the Drake like no yes Super Bowl commercials. March Madness commercials, thumbs up, because you get to actually get the exposure. Like you asked about the Super Bowl commercials this year, I don't remember any of them. I saw them one time, move on. These ones just get pounded into your head. I just want to go a few of my favorites. Scoop, there it is. Obviously, that's been with us for a while now. But
When we can eventually get back out the bars, I hope that people just play that.
yeah, just at any time play the Whoop there it is version. But yeah, for sure. I like that they brought back the Matumbo one from a while ago. Those Geico ones, from like probably 5-10 years ago now.
Yeah.
So those are fun to get back. The Chuck, Sam Jackson, and Spike Lee commercials, those have been pretty good actually this summer. Those are always fun.
I'm happy they brought back the Indianapolis commercial. I feel like we've been saying
We've
been saying Indianapolis for years now. I'm like, I wonder if anyone gets what we're doing, and now they're back. It's like, okay, refresher.
Throwing some Jim Nance in there as well.
I like the one with their kids.
That's what I say. That was probably my favorite, besides the Indianapolis one. Is the kids.
I'll never do that one again in my life.
Exactly. That one's definitely funny. So those were good. I like the Mike Tyson seltzer commercials. Those all seem to be really funny.
Yeah, I know. Good job, Mike Sard.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before the free and free the auction one. I like that one as well.
I think I said I might not seen it, but once you started saying it, I'm like, oh, I think I definitely heard that while I was like working on like Friday or Monday. Just like, like, okay, it's commercial, like 100% on. Just hearing like free and free, like, so yeah. And I do like the aerobics one and free.
Yeah, those are good as well. I do want to briefly hit on. Did you notice the car commercial that had Zeke from High School Musical on it?
Nope.
Well, I'll have to point it out once because they run a few of them, like with a lot of different people in it. But it's like, oh, envision yourself in this car, and people just see themselves in the car going by. I can't even remember what brand it is. I'll have to keep an eye out for it this weekend. But I thought that was kind of funny that I'm like, that's definitely Zeke from High School Musical. And then finally, one that you said you didn't like was the Sauce iPhone commercial.
It just gave me so much anxiety. Like looks like what was he cooking? It was just like stuff. It was the floor.
The sauce.
I don't know.
No. Like I said, I liked it because he was kind of a bigger guy. I think it made it a little funny with his dance moves, but yeah. And then the worst, I just had the idiot dad with the Pompeii questions.
Oh yeah. How do you?
He doesn't know anything.
Okay, again,
moron.
How do you like? You might not know the year. That's fine. But once you're on the topic, like everyone knows Mount Vesuvius.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, I mean, your daughter's asking you questions, thinking you know all this stuff. You're being a poser to your daughter. Doesn't know she's an idiot for a dad.
Emily, go back.
Asking Alexa
you think they'd be talking English back then?
That's yeah, that's true too. 79. Luckily, maybe just that one guy did, so that kind of helped him.
Luck of the draw.
Dropping his toast in Pompeii. Anyway, and then the similar iPhone commercial. Have you seen the lady juggling the phone? She kept dropping it.
That one's the worst.
No, the music makes it really funny because it's like ba-ba-doo-da-ba-ba-doo-da, like I was watching with Caitlin, we were cracking up. But I think at first I liked it, and the more I watched it,
she had it like 3 times.
She had it here, and then she tries this cocky ass like throwing it up, hip bouncing it to herself. It's like, no, if you just stop, bring it in, you had it. And then she just was so dramatic about it. Yeah, completely didn't get it. So yeah, that one pissed me off just because she had it in her.
Another one I didn't list that I kind of hated as well was the basketball like jumps across the highway and stuff with a stupid like sound in the background.
Oh, they start playing basketball on a hill in San Francisco like morons. Like, yeah, you're not getting that ball back, man. Why didn't you just go buy a new one? And then I just had the 3 question mark category, which is that Coke flavors one with the Wolverine thing going on.
I kind of liked it. I don't know why.
I put question marks. I didn't say I hated it. I don't know what's happening. I think a lot of people probably do hate it, which is why I kind of like it. Yeah, it's very interesting. And then the howling. So I just thought that was fun. It's funny because I think I always forget that like again you kind of beat down with the same 10 to 20 commercials. So I wanted to highlight it for
Yeah,
you.
because in 2018 it was like the "Here's an invitation to the whole wide world" commercial.
Yeah, the orange
Vanilla Coke was
Coke. Yeah,
2019.
exactly. Oh, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, there's been some good ones. I'll have to remember them all. But yeah, then obviously all the Capital One ones with the
Yeah,
three guys
that's
there.
a
But
yearly tradition though.
man,
I know. Back to the Capital One ones. I love the Magic one.
ta-da! Man, but yeah, so a lot of good ones. We'll have to think next time if I think of any of the other ones that come up. But all right, that was over an hour of the tournament. That's kind of again all my brain could focus on at this time. Like I said, I've just been pumped with 4 straight days of college basketball. I want to briefly hit on some NBA news. The Celtics still suck, as you wrote here. They're really on a downswing here. I think they got a win in the middle there, right? Jalen was able to. I think he had 10 threes, was it on Sunday versus the I'm not even I got so
Magic.
out of it. The Magic,
Yeah.
right.
So I did listen to stuff on the local station say, and they kind of had a lot on Celtics, so it kind of was a nice little recap. Um, I'm not sure we touched on them. They lost pretty pathetically to the Cavs on Wednesday. I think we talked
Yeah,
about
no,
it
we did on
Thursday.
that. We did on that, yeah.
And then right after that, all day was rumors that Stevens is going to take the Indiana job. And then apparently right before the tip off on Friday against the Kings, they hold this big team meeting, like the whole like Jordan Belfort, like I ain't effing leaving. And I thought that
He said he's a asshole now.
yeah, he's an asshole. He's not effing leaving. And then guess what the Celtics do? They lose to the Kings at home.
Right.
Lose to the Kings twice, probably.
Exactly.
Like Luke Walton's probably the most lame duck coach of all time, like in this year. So that was a pathetic showing. They got lucky on, not lucky, but they took advantage of a great day from Jaylen Brown from 3 on Sunday. Again, didn't watch a second of either of these games.
Yeah.
And then last night,
Yeah, I have to ignore the NBA for a little bit. It's just like it's a yearly tradition.
Then last night, I did watch it because it was like the Alabama game was over and USC was going at halftime.
I forgot they were on, honestly.
I only watched the overtime. Apparently, Jeff Teague had a good game, but they lost to the Grizzlies again. I mean, Tatum was out with an illness,
and Kemba was out second
Kemba
back
was
to
back to back. But I don't know. I think Memphis got on a down year after their little tiny playoff attempt last year, but back under 500 again. So
yeah, like you said, yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that. But there's a team on. I mean, have to even check this in. But you said that the Raptors have also had their turmoil. I heard there was kind of a argument between Siakam and Nick Nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they end up getting fined, and now that I do have this listed after the trade deadline's on Thursday, so we're seeing rumors of both like Norm Powell, Kyle Lowry, and I think the whole reason behind this is the team you think that really stinks is the Houston Rockets, who have lost 20 straight games until last night when they beat the Raptors.
Yeah.
So,
all had a good game. They get a triple double.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, so they're not looking good.
So yeah. I guess the one thing that stinks about the season getting pushed back is that this trade deadline usually starts is usually like right before March Madness, and now it's going to be.
I know. Now
on Thursday.
That will get me to hop back in a little bit, but
it'll be like a fun
turn
Thursday.
To the jump. Yeah.
It'll be a Thursday afternoon fun, and then be like, okay, we'll check back in because usually it takes a couple days for these guys, especially on COVID, to end up playing with these teams. So
exactly.
So yeah, names like I said, Norm Powell, Kyle Lowry, Bogdanovich, even though his first year in Atlanta, is apparently getting looked at by the Warriors, and you're seeing rumors for Brogdon, Lauri Markkanen, and Lonzo Ball, and then Aaron Gordon's kind of
the latest
in Boston. I don't know. I guess I'm okay with it. It's just I don't know. Something needs to change, and if Marcus Smart's going to play as bad as he has now, I never wanted to let him go, but if he's the shakeup we need, I guess I don't know.
I just I don't hate Aaron Gordon, but it's like I don't know. It doesn't seem to do.
It's one of those things where I think I would say
any change is good.
Murray put it best, and he's like, I'm not the biggest guy on Aaron Gordon, but I've been yelling at them for like 5 years now to make a move, and if they finally did something, I'm not going to get too picky about it.
That's true. Absolutely, but. Yeah, so Celtics are down to 8th in the standings right now. How about the Hawks? They've been on a tear.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get all this John. I especially still don't get the John Collins. Like I don't. Why are they trying to move him? He's like their second best player.
I think he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. That is
they don't want to pay.
And I think there's something going on with him and Trey.
Okay.
So,
Because they're in fourth place right now.
well, that's something that could get awful interesting. Is that if we could somehow get both Aaron Gordon, and John
And
Collins,
John Collins.
because the Aaron Gordon would be the Gordon Hayward trade exception,
Right.
and he could get John Collins now is like $4 million salary. But when the
Okay.
season ends, we can have the bird rights,
Bird rights. Okay.
so we can pay him. So I guess like we can't sign him.
Financially, it makes
It's like this is why it's so weird in the NBA. Like we literally cannot sign a free agent if like above a mid-level exception right now. But if we did a couple moves, we can get two max guys.
I still don't understand the NBA cap because it's like, oh, we signed like 2 free agents, can't do anything at all. Meanwhile, it's like the Nets, yeah, we'll bring on him, we'll take. It's like they like
Well, that's
like
all league
like
minimum.
super. I know, but still, it just something seems weird. Anyway, but yeah. So we'll have to keep an eye on all that. Standings, like I said, are kind of a jumble right now with the Pacers have fallen out, the Raptors have fallen out, like you said. Hornets back in it. The Knicks are staying pretty tried and true there as well. So we'll just keep an eye on that as we go forward here.
Yeah, Pacers are sliding. Brogdon's being rumored around, and then touch on the Hornets. LaMelo Ball, it's up here with this wrist injury.
That ended up being season ending. I know
yeah, he had to have surgery. Definitely. A lot of players are out right now. Like Embiid's been out a little bit.
Yeah,
Curry's
LeBron
Curry's got a sore ass. LeBron's out 3 to 4 weeks with Davis. So like, I'm not sure that game's going tonight, but
the Lakers. I mean, yeah, it's not gonna be the easiest road for them.
Yeah, so there were rumors today with the Celtics, like they had to move a contract around, maybe getting a third team involved and sending Thompson out there to kind of like put less pressure on Davis. But apparently, the Celtics saw on Twitter today between Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker backed up Thompson on Twitter.
I did see that.
Saying they liked them. So
I mean,
absolutely. It's just a lot of rumors about him like going down in COVID, and the fact that the Celtics locker room's so small, like it's literally the locker room's actually divided.
Yeah.
Like they can only have like half the team in one room and half the team.
Oh, like literally,
literally divided. So like they have like rookies in one room, like that's in the other. So like I don't know. It's
well, it's a situation we'll have to monitor for sure. I don't want.
It'll probably be a lot of nothing. But
we've been on a while here. I'm trying to wrap up with it. Again, Bruins got COVID, so switching gears there briefly to the NHL. They're supposed to play tonight, but it should be back on Thursday. So again, we'll have a little bit more time. We'll have less games to break down on the next show on Saturday. Rather, we'll have a bit of a preview, but it'll be 8 games we're previewing rather than a whole massive tournament here. So we'll have a little bit more time to break down some other stuff. MLB sneaking up on us though, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A week away. That's something that I was just like, wow, like I couldn't believe that. So I know you have here as a note that Fernando Tatis Jr. will have to give with an injury, so hopefully that's not too concerning. But yeah, opening day on April Fool's Day, which is crazy that's literally next week. Yeah, next
Thursday. So
that is exciting. That's one that I can also kind of get into sign, because then it's like, all right, we're into the final 4 of March Madness. That's kind of winding down, so you can kind of focus elsewhere again.
Yeah, so then you kind of get into your first like couple weeks of baseball, and then the playoffs come around for the NHL.
Exactly. Then you get back into
like fade out, and the summer you get back in.
There's a cycle to everything. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so we'll hit on those as they come up. But yeah, so one final note. Obviously, we have a lot of these RIPs lately, man. I'm not a huge fan of it, but RP to Elgin Baylor, legend yesterday. So passed away at the age of 86. Seems like he did his natural causes. Again, one of the all-time greats. I think a name that you hear all the time, and I don't think we fully understand how good he was. I think there was a clip, I didn't quite watch it, of Bill Russell, and they were interviewing him talking about Elgin Baylor beating him. He's like, why do you have to bring that up? And they're like, oh, it's like, yeah, he's like probably one of the the best forwards ever. And it's like, why'd you say one of? Like, so it just shows you the respect that Bill Russell had for Elgin Baylor, and a huge part of the early the pre Magic and Bird Celtics Lakers rivalries, more kind of back when you had Russell and in the squad against Elgin Baylor, Will Chamberlain, Jerry West, those teams there, a huge part of those teams back there.
Yeah, so. And then I think the City Edition jerseys for like the earned edition, I think jerseys for them are like the white and blue ones for the Lakers, and I think they did add a patch for. They might do it for the rest of the year, but they didn't. And Elgin, I think maybe like on the bottom too. Like so, like when it's those jerseys, maybe from now on, if they keep them, it's just gonna be those like the Elgin Baylor jersey.
Yeah. So Yeah, RIP to a legend there. But yeah, so again, we had a lot to unpack today. We had a lot that we covered here, but again, not about 90 to 95% was the tournament and tournament related stuff. And yeah, we're gonna have again the first ever live show on Saturday, provided everything goes according to plan here. And yeah, we'll have 4 games to preview as far as Saturday goes. We'll get into the Sunday games as well. But just excited to have another weekend. I'm kind of just counting down the work days, just getting ready for another Saturday here. So it should be a lot of fun on Saturday for sure. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I guess the way to think about it's like, oh, we got the games yesterday, so it's already Tuesday now, and
I know, yeah.
I feel like I'm not expecting games to be on Thursday, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like those games always sneak up on me too. Like, it's like, oh, it's Thursday again. Like, wow, this game's tonight. I feel like by the time
Yeah,
Saturday
Monday
rolls
does help with that too. Yeah.
yeah,
So, and then Friday's fun no matter what. You can go,
yeah,
maybe get some
a date
dinner or
night.
something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we might we can do something outside depending on the weather. But so yeah, now it's like okay, we had all of yesterday. Today we broke everything down, and then tomorrow's hump day, and then we're getting through.
Yeah.
So yeah, live show on Saturday should be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our again intense diagnosis of the first couple rounds of the tournament. Been crazy so far, and hopefully some more good games coming up this weekend. So thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on Saturday.
This is March.
This is March. Thanks everyone.